Hi, I'm Christopher Stewart. I want to take a moment and talk about the concept of key and counter key. Now, this is mostly taught in places like Juilliard, Oxford, classical acting courses, that kind of thing. Um, Anything dealing with Broadway, anything dealing with a lot of stage. Key and counter key is a very interesting concept. But first, let me start with directors. Okay? What does a director really look for? What does a good director look for? Okay, let's stress that, a good director. Um, Now, a good director isn't going to care who your agent is. A good director isn't going to care what you look like. They're not going to give a damn about your headshot. They're not going to care about your physique. And they really, really, really don't care how you act when you're by yourself. A good director is concerned with how can you act with everybody else? How can you perform with somebody else? In most cases, if someone wants you to do a screen test, the main reason they're doing that is because they have this actor or this actress that they've worked with for years, and they want to know, are you going to be okay working with them? Are you going to do what they want you to do? Are you going to be a good pair? Okay? And that's usually what the whole concept of it is. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's really neat to be a supportive actor. Okay? Back to the concept of key and counter key. Now, you have dialogue. Dialogue sometimes can be the worst problem in all of theater. It really can. If you look at a play and you sit there and read it and go, how could I even do that? That's a first start of actually understanding why it is that dialogue can be problematic. Okay? When you look at the actual script that we were going from in The Patriot, you really have to almost laugh at how it was written. Okay? Because the way that the dialogue was written was, Mr. Atkins starts to leave. Pink says, "Where are you going?" Mr. Atkins says something like, "To solve problem." I mean, that's the worst sketch of dialogue ever. And it was to such an extent that the actor playing Mr. Atkins didn't even want to do it. He was so ready to just be comical that he wasn't even sure how to even do it properly. And he had no idea what Sam Hill to do. And this is what happens when you have people that really explore dialogue and think out of the box and use accents and play around with different ideas. Because what happens is you have the two of us meeting for the first time in this set, and I look at him and go, "Hey, Mr. Atkins, where you be going?" And he bursts out laughing, and there's the whole thing. I talked about that in the previous thing with talking about Pink. But then he got more into character because I was in character. That's called key and counter key. When you are in character and you are keying another person by your character, you're making their performance better. You're improving them because you're producing the dialogue and you're creating the tone, you're creating the meter. Okay? If you can create the tone and the meter with dialogue, then you bring up everybody around you. And you can work with anybody. It doesn't matter what the dialogue is. The dialogue can be the worst piece of trash you ever invented, but if you are on top of your game to such an extent that you impress everybody around you, then they have to think, how can they work with it? How can they improve to create a duet? Because that's what you're doing. You're creating a duet. Okay? So that's what key and counter key is. You're keying somebody up by demonstrating that you can do this And they, of course, can do this. And then they are counter-keying you because they are saying, I'm going to throw it right back. Catch. And it becomes a game of catch. Okay? I'm throwing this to you, you're catching it, you're throwing it back to me, I'm catching it, I'm throwing it back to you. And it becomes a support and counter support. That's why it's called key and counter key. Because everything you're doing is trying to encourage everyone around you and is trying to support them and give them ideas. And from that, they build and they throw it back to you and they support you, which makes you look good, and then you have to take a step down or a step up in order to keep going with the back and forth toss. Okay? To give a practical example of this, you have the flat dialogue, which we're not even going to look at because I don't even remember what the script was. And we're going to look what the actual script became. It became, Mr. Atkins, where you be going? To uncomplicate my life. You've heard that two's company. That's what it is. No one could have written that unless they had spent time in a city. And that's what happened when somebody from some rural area in the United States wrote dialogue and two city kids looked at it, threw it out the window and created their own. Okay, and that's key and counter key. It happens in dialogue, it happens in position. Okay? But the most important thing, when you want to impress a director, when you want a director to work with you again and again and again, what you want to show that director is that pick any actor, any actress that that director has ever worked with, that ever wanted to work with. Put them in a chair, hand them a script, any script, and sit down with them and prove that no matter what the person, no matter what the script, you can work with that person. And not just work with them, you can encourage them. You can make them better. You don't give a damn about your performance. You know your performance is good. You can impress the director because you are making the other person look good. That is how to get roles. That is how to repeat performances. That is how to keep going in theater. And going and going and going. Like the Energizer Bunny Rabbit. Because no matter what, so long as you can continually work to improve the actors and actresses around you, then everyone starts liking your performance and they start liking working with you. The whole concept of theater isn't a game, it's not a competition, it's a how well can I work with other people? Okay, now let's take it a step up. How well can I make them look? The more personable you are, the more encouraging you are to other people, the more positive attitude you are yourself. The more positive you are, the more positive everyone around you is. So what you need is to keep going on a positive game.